megahertz. River City Arcs members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I'll recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
Kilo 3 Romeo Echo Hotel, Anders in Folsom.
Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta Carol, Citrus Heights.
K3REH.
N6PGQ.
Delta Golf, Joel in Florin.
6PGQ, Bob in Roseville.
All right, I got you both. Thank you, N6PGQ, Bob and Joel, AI6DG. Thanks for checking in. Good evening.
KP4MD, Carol, Citrus Heights.
Auburn.
Auburn, I got Carol, KP4MD. Could Auburn please come again?
KE6GUM, Kilo Echo 6, Golf Uniform Mike, Nick in North Auburn.
KE6GUM, Nick. Thank you. Keep for checking in, Nick. I'm Wilson, November 6th, Echo Mike Foxtrot, net control here. And so far we have K3REH, Anders, N6PGQ, Bob, AI6DG, Joel, KP4MD, Carol, and Nick, KE6GUM. Any other check-ins? All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And how about this? If you're ready to do some slow scan tonight, I will say get ready to transmit. I'll just go down the list starting with Anders. And before we do, want to express appreciation to any one of the or all of the YouTube viewers we might have online tonight. Enjoy the show. N6EMF is calling on Anders, K3REH. If you're ready, state your transmit mode and go right ahead with your photo.
So this is going to be PD 120.
Anders. This is N6 Net Control. I was acknowledging receipt or copy of the photo, and I see a handful of pixel pops throughout the photograph, but I do see what might be two photographs, one on the left, one on the right, with two separate antenna systems. And I will say that let's see, if I blow it up, it's a little out of focus, but at the right size, it brings things into the right perspective where I can see it good enough, but I can't identify the people or anything like that. But I'll turn it over to some others for a description for more fun. How about Bob, N6PGQ?
Okay, well, like you said, it's two pictures with a few pixel pops, not bad. Looks like somebody's field day site, and on the left we've got a white pickup truck with a shell on the back of it. It looks like the antenna has been attached to it, maybe to its 2-inch hitch mount. It's got a spider beam antenna on the top of it, and on the right is a antenna with the K3 REH/AE, perfectly aligned with one of the, they're probably they might be guy wires at the top, I don't know. But it looks like somebody's cranking up an antenna, maybe one of those military type crank up antennas. So somebody's having a nice field day or something to that effect, and I don't recognize where it is. I'll probably kick myself if it was one of ours. Anyway, that's what I got, N6PGQ.
All right, well, nice narrative there, Bob, and thank you. Yep, it looks like a fun photo. So let's see what Joel might have. Joel, go right ahead. Were you able to copy AI6TG, N6EMF?
Okay, so left picture, a bunch of cars in a parking lot, foreground pickup truck, trailer hitch, mount for the mast. I don't know what kind of mast. It looks a bit thick, so maybe it's a pneumatic. Hex beam up on top, not a spider beam, although they look a lot alike. I can't tell if it's multi-band or single band. I can't really see how many wires there are on it. Doesn't look like there's any guy lines on that mast. On the right, I noticed the /AE. So, Anders, did you just upgrade your license, or at this time had you just upgraded? That's interesting. Up to extra. 3 guys standing around. We got a field. One guy right at where the mast is going up with a ladder that's leaning against it. Really thick guy line. So it's guide at the top, a third down, and a third up. And it looks like there's a feed line from the foreground about where the person is taking the picture is standing, going up to the guy wire system. So I'm thinking some of those aren't guy wires, but rather maybe a loop or something, a dipole, or one of the guys is being used to lead the feed line up. Can't really tell what kind of antenna that system is. Looking forward to hearing out more about it and where this is and about the call sign and what's the event. Back to Net, AI6TG.
All right, this is going to be this is a cliffhanger, Anders. Yes. All right. Thanks for that, Joel. And let's see. Since I know Carol does a pretty good job I'm going to jump right over Carol and our new cast member here, KE6GUM, Nick. Welcome aboard, Nick. Tell us what you think. Were you able to copy the photo this time? Nick? are you able to copy the photo, KE6GUM? All right, well, if anybody hears from Nick, please let me know, and I'll go right back up to Carol, KP4MD. Were you able to copy?
Okay, yeah, this is KP for MD. Now I know why you leave me always to last. Yeah, it looks like I agree with Joel that the picture on the left looks like a hex beam on top some type of a pneumatic mast that's attached to the back of that pickup there. And the antenna on the right, it has slant AE, which is usually what you see with an upgrade to amateur extra class. And that antenna is interesting. I don't know if all of those cables or the wires you see coming down are antennas. Maybe some kind of a disc cone antenna, or perhaps one of these directional, multi-directional type of switchable loop antennas. I've heard that there's such a thing like that. It's certainly an interesting HF antenna set up there, probably with switchable directions. This is what I'm going to guess. Otherwise, it's great for Christmas tree lighting. So back to net control. It's KP for MD.
All right. Well, thank you, Carol, and appreciate you explaining the adder on the call sign. So let's hear from Anders. K3REH, go right ahead. Tell us all about your photo, and there's some additional context here, I'll bet.
These photos are about 3 or 4 weeks old now, and this is from an event that we had up in Railhead Park in Auburn in the context of the general class that I attended the last few weeks. So we were doing a Get on the Air event here, where us students were allowed to make some HF contacts, and these were the two antennas that we're using. The antenna on the left was a pneumatic tower that simply was pushed up by air pressure, so there's a little compressor at the bottom there, and it just went up and folded out, kind of, pretty quick and easy. There are no guy wires. It was just standing by itself like that, attached to the truck, to the hitch there. And the thing on the right is a 42 feet structure that this is just the support structure, and eventually from the top there we were hoisting up the center of a 40-meter inverted V. So that's what that whole tower was about. It was a beautiful day, as you can see. We had a ton of fun. And on the side during the class, I read also the next book, so thus the little extension to my call sign there that I passed as of last night. So that is the full story about these two pictures. K3REH, back to net.
All right, well, congratulations, Anders. You said you passed, and you took a general class, and there's a gap in my mind. But Carol explained that AE implies the extra, right? So did you reach the extra class already?
Yeah, the class was a general class, but I kind of sneaked a peek in the next book also during the class, so I kind of read up on the whole extra also during that class, and then I took both tests as of last night. K3REH.
Wow, that's phenomenal, and congratulations to you, Anders. That's great news. I'm happy, very happy, and proud to hear that. We have a cast member that has recently entered the extra class and jumped right over the general, so that's phenomenal. So great work, and I like the way you annotated your antenna thing there with the K3REH, almost like it's radiating that that text there off to one of the elements or one of the guy wires, if you will. Cool stuff. I'll turn it over to others for additional comments or questions. Any comments or questions?
question. Is that the feed line or coax I see on the rightmost photo coming from nearby and going out towards the antenna?
Actually, the feed line is going away from us in the picture. So that was a window line going from the. You can see behind me. I'm the guy in the gray on the bottom left in the picture, and then there's a guy further away in front of a pop-up. That pop-up was kind of where we had the radio set up, and from there is a window line going up. I'm not exactly sure what this black wire that's coming down is. I think it was just a pull wire to get the window line up. So that's as far as I remember.
All right. Well, thank you for that update, Anders. Again, congratulations from the Slow Scan TV cast. How's that? I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm going to get Carol now. Carol, are you ready to transmit?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. PD 120 is KP for MD.
Thank you for that, Carol, KP4MD, N6NA Net Control. I was able to copy a pretty good photograph of, I've got some slant correction to do, but other than that, it was a very a black background for most of the surface area of the photo, and the observation I had on that was that the tone of the signal was very monotonous because there was so much of one color in the background, that black. That was just kind of interesting. But it's a Kiwi software-defined radio spectral display. Looks like you got a little bit of maybe a receive spectrum there with some noise floor and a receive sensitivity there maybe. And it says noise band, RMS noise band on 10 meters maybe at the top. And it's got this was taken on October 28th. UTC 1530, I guess, or what was that? I guess no, that was maybe it's the band, the band opening up at 1530 peak or so. That's my guess, and I'm sticking to it. But yeah, I've listened to some of these software-defined radio, these Kiwi servers online. They're pretty cool. They're almost like beacons, but you can transmit and then listen to yourself on the receive online through the server. So there's my story, and I guess what I can do is turn it over to Bob, N6PGQ, were you able to copy Carol's photo?
Yeah, I was able to copy Carol's photo well. It's like you say, a lot of black, and the pitch didn't change very much. I don't know, I'm making a guess that this is maybe measuring an opening or something like that, and it's above I'm looking at the scale on the bottom, so it'd be above the 20-meter band, I would guess. But other than that, I'm going to have to wait for Carol's explanation, N6PGQ.
Fair enough. Thank you, Bob. How about Joel, AI6DG?
Well, I think I know what this is, and in fact, I think I know what it is because I saw a tweet either that Carol did or from the River City Arts account. This is the rise in noise floor as the CME, coronal mass ejection, hit the Earth on Sunday, which is why band conditions were so bad on Sunday because we got nailed basically. I'm assuming 10 meters, but I'm a little confused by the scale and by the legend on the top. dBm/hertz. Is it 10 meters? And how in the world are you getting a noise floor of 150 dBm? Because I'm looking if I can get 120. Or is this scale not the absolute noise floor? And anyway, I'm looking forward to the explanation of that. Back to net. Oh, and where is KFS Kiwi? Where was this received? Back to net AI6DG.
All right, very good. Thank you, Joel. Very good, nice. How about Anders? K3REH, were you able to copy?
Good copy, some pixel pops. Interesting break in the transmission that I've never heard before. Maybe it was in my end, but I have a hard break at just above 146 dBm in the picture. And it was just an occurrence that I've never experienced before on our nets. I'm with Joel there. 150 dBm noise floor is very impressive. Not sure where it would be that quiet. And it says on the bottom UTC 1028, so it was not Sunday. And the scale from the horizontal scale, it looks like it's in time, so it starts at 2 p.m., 1400 hours, and goes to 5 p.m., 1700 hours UTC. So something extreme happened right there at 1530. Yeah, looking forward to know what this is. K3REH, back to net.
Thank you for that, Anders. And I wonder if Nick is still there. KE6GUM. Does anybody know Nick? I had not been acquainted with Nick. All right, well, Carol, KP4MD. I'm going to take Nick off the list. If he comes back, we'll check in with him later. KP4MD, Carol, your photo. Tell us all about it, please.
Okay, this is KP4MD. First of all, I want to do a shout out there to Craig and Frank, WP2N and W6NYX, who are watching on YouTube live stream. And yep, Joel, you probably saw I did tweet that out. And see, Anders, you have a really good eye there for what's in the picture. This was a capture from, yes, KFS Kiwi. KFS is the call letters of the receiver station out there at Half Moon Bay. That's it's an SDR. They have a standard web SDR, but they also have a Kiwi that covers the entire HF spectrum from 0 all the way up to 30 megahertz. and this is the 10-meter band. The Kiwi is constantly uploading not only whisper signals that it decodes, but also it's monitoring the noise floor. And this is the noise floor on 10 meters on that day, the 28th of October. And the peak that you see there is exactly the same time of the X-class solar flare that occurred. That was the radio interference that came from that flare. The effects on the ionosphere, of course, were from the particles that eventually hit the Earth, and that, of course, was a couple of days later. So it's a rise in the noise floor of 15 decibels. This is only the second solar flare of this magnitude since the start of this solar cycle, so it is quite significant. And yeah, this is dBm per hertz. So that's usually when you're looking at your S-meter scale, the dBm you're reading is in your bandwidth that you're monitoring, but this is actually normalized down to a single hertz. So it's a very quiet receiver site over there at Half Moon Bay. So I thought this was real interesting. And numerous other receivers that were in the view of this flare also recorded this at the exact same time. So it's a nice little piece of history there. Back to net. This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta.
All right. Well, thank you for that explanation, narrative on the photo, Carol. How long? Just a quick question: is how long does the solar cycle history go back? You said this is the second most intense ejection. How far do we go back on the history?
Okay, yeah, we're just talking about this particular solar cycle, which I think it only started within the past few months, so or maybe a year or so. That's about it. It's really hard to say exactly when the solar cycle started, but this is the second large flare of this size since the solar cycle started. Over.
Oh, I misunderstood the time frame and the context. I, for some reason, thought it was in the entire history of measurements of solar flares. So thank you for that clarification. Any other points or comments for Carol?
Question?
Go ahead, Joel.
So the flare occurred on the 28th, which I think is Thursday, although it could have been Friday or Wednesday. I don't know how the UTC days, when they ended, start compared to us, but I know it's not necessarily the same 24-hour clock. So it happened. That happened on the 28th, and they didn't hit us until Sunday.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. The thing is, the flare occurred at right around 15:30, which in our time is 8:30 in the morning on the 28th of October, and the radio interference, of course, arrives here at the speed of light, which only takes about 8 or 9 minutes to arrive from the sun. However, the effect on the ionosphere is due to the coronal ejection, which is particles, and those are protons, and those don't travel at the speed of light. They take usually a couple of days to reach us. Over.
And is that what affected us, propagation on conditions on Sunday?
Yeah, correct. That caused some. There was a solar storm this past weekend, and there were some periods of. I know the solar flux was really high, so there was really good propagation, but there were some periods of time when there were the signals went way down. I don't think it was a complete blackout, but there was some instability. Over.
Well, on the Coffee Net this morning, they were talking about how incredible it was on Saturday and how conditions were significantly less incredible on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. The geomagnetic the K index did jump up. I believe it was up above 10 or so on Sunday at times over.
Thank you, AS6DG.
All right, thanks for the dialogue, Q&A there. If nothing else, I'll take a quick pause and we'll find the next transmitter on the list. Okay, Bob, you're up, N6PGQ. You ready to transmit?
I am. This is going to be PD120, and someday I'll remember earlier in the day on Wednesday to get something spectacular. But here we go.
All right, Bob, thanks for that. N6PGQ has sent a photograph with a red wooden bar sitting on top of a table. It looks like, to me, it looks like it's a steel tab mounted to the top of the bar, and it could be what to me looks like a musical note, because there's a letter A stamped in the metal. So maybe if you strike that with a solid object, it will ring out an A note. I'm just guessing. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Carol. You're up. Were you able to copy the photo? What did you see?
Yes, yes. This looks. It looks like a. Oh, of course, N6PGQ, being a musician, would have a musical picture. This is a. It looks like one of those. I don't know what you call those things. It's like a chime from similar to what you use on a xylophone, and I wonder if that it's a single note, so it's not. I don't think to play any particular music, but perhaps it's a frequency standard for tuning. I'm just guessing that, but I guess it would be a really monotonous if you tried to play an entire tune on that. Uh, really curious though. I don't know. I think I've seen one of those before. Maybe I saw that over your house. Back to net. This is KP for MD.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Carol. How about Anders? Were you able to copy K3REH?
So this is a completely different kind of floor, not a noise floor, but an actual wooden floor with a part of a xylophone, I guess. I had one like that when I was a kid, but I had a red and a blue and a green and multiple pieces like this, and I could play little tunes. So I guess this is a beginner xylophone. That's my guess. K3REH, back to net.
All right, a beginner's xylophone, a frequency standard. I like them both. All right, if you hit that right, you could probably make a song out of one note. If you make some clicking sounds with your tongue and some rapping sounds with your hands or something like that, that might be fun. How about Joel, AI6DG?
Pretty much it's all been said, but I want to hear it. And come on, put the microphone up next to it. Where's the mallet? Hit it. Bong.
All right, well, nice one. How about Bob, N6PGQ? Would you like to tell us all about this item, this photo?
Well, you guys are really good. Yeah, this is, if any of you guys went to school in the 50s, 60s, and maybe the 70s, and had a traveling music teacher, they would have a set of these, and it's a xylophone-like device, and each of the resonators, which is what that red box is removable from the case, and so you could hand them around the classroom, and as you were teaching kids to read music, you could have, an overhead projector with the music on it. You could be pointing at the notes, and when the kid got to their note, they would play it, and if everyone was successful, you would be playing a tune. And what this has to do with radio is I have my CW offset set for 440 hertz, which of course is an A, and it sounds something like this. And so when you tune your radio, you just match the pitches, and you're in tune. So there it is.
Yeah, that sounded great. How about one more again? Can you strike that note once again? I really love the sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was an H in Morse code, right? Nice work, Bob. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions? Was it?
Yeah, that's right. I was going to send CQ, but I figured it was be a little bit too much.
Yeah, I do have a comment here. The Craig did make a comment, and he thought it was 440 hertz. And I just have a warning for you, Bob. The FCC rules do not permit music on the air, so just take that as a good warning for you. Over.
Well, it isn't music, it's a tone. Otherwise, we'd have problems with our repeater, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, it's one-tone music.
Well, lots of people on this thing push the transmit tone to see if the slow scan's going to work, whatever that, how many hertz that is, and there's a tone.
Question.
Go ahead, Joel.
So what's the ruling on incidental music that just happens to be in the background of a person who's otherwise broadcast or talking?
Oh yeah, that is actually a that's a question that came on one of the recent VE tests. That music in the background is okay if it's the International Space Station. I think that was possibly one of the questions on the VE test. But yeah, there's certainly you have some people that have other people in the house that are listening to music and maybe in the background. The important thing I think there is that it's not the main content of what you're trying to transmit. But it's a good question. And you know, N6YG, George, who used to be on this net years ago, actually had a file that he put into his MMSSTV that would play the first four notes of Beethoven's Fifth before it would send out an SSTV picture. I wonder if anybody remembers that. It would be da 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 da, and you would hear that. It was actually a file that was kind of curious.
I remember that. It's just a V.
All right. Well, let me. Net Control will send a photo, and I appreciate all the discussion on that. Speaking of CW, here's one for you. PD90. I noticed some strange activity with my signaling. I hope that came across okay in 6EMF. So how about Anders? Were you able to copy?
Very clean copy. Very few pixel pops, and the ones that were there were very small. This is a Vibroplex key. That much I can see. It's a very happy color key. They usually don't look this happy, I think. So I think this is looks good to me. This is one part of the hobby that I have not started to look into yet. So I am not going to give much more comment on that. K3REH, back to net.
All right, thank you for that, Anders. Bob, N6PGQ.
Yep, Vibroplex key on a desk. Almost looks like it has two weights on it, but I can't tell. Somebody's been practicing their code in 6PGQ.
All right, Bob, sounds good. Glad you were able to copy. Joel, AI6DG.
It's interesting watching it come up on the screen because there was a bit of a resize in the viewer when it started. In fact, maybe there's a bug in MSSTV because when it resized, it left a little bit behind. I can see a little bit of the previous photo in little strips on the extreme left and right. Very few pops, but I've got a really bad moire pattern because it's got such a dark background. That's something local to me, I think. Of a very nice and clean Vibroplex, blue body, red handle, lots of chrome, shiny, shiny, shiny. And yeah, I gather it's quite a skill, quite a trick to operating those, but they're great for operating CW at high speed once you get them adjusted right and you've learned the skill of how to do that. Back to net, AI6DG.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Joel. How about Carol, KP4MD? Were you able to copy?
Yeah, good, very good copy. You could see on YouTube. It looks like the Vibraplex Blue Racer, and looks like it's in absolute mint condition. And I can't remember if you told me you bought one of these, but it's excellent. I used to have one that was a completely chrome base back in the 1970s, and I used it for a few years. When I moved away from New York in 1976, I sold it because it was quite heavy, and I was moving out of New York, and I knew I was going to be moving around a bit and didn't need to carry something so heavy. But yeah, it's nice to get a cover to keep the chrome parts nice and shiny. I do have a Bencher paddle. It's an iambic paddle that's a chrome base, and since a friend of mine printed on the 3D printer this dust cover for it, it keeps it really in nice condition. If before I put that cover on there, you know, any little bit of dust in the air settles on it, and it just really stands out. It was a little bit of a pain, but the cover does wonders. I think they might even have covers for these bugs, just to keep the dust out of the works there. Back to you. This is KP for MD.
All right, well, thank you for that, Carol. Yeah, I do have a plexiglass dust cover for my other Vibraplex key, which is really just a straight key. But yes, I wanted to share this with Cass tonight. And before I begin, this was a PD90, which is a 90-second transmission, as opposed to 126 seconds for PD120. So obviously it's probably a little bit less resolution. But yeah, this is a key that I bought last summer in July at about the same time of my beginner's CW class that I took with the Samuel F. Morse Radio Club CW class taught by Mike in N6MQL. Anyway, he talked a lot about bugs, and I was inspired to pick up one of these. And to be honest with you, I never even took it out of the box until tonight. I said, well, I need a photo for Slow Scan TV tonight, and I've got a bug in a box. So this is called it's called a bug, and to be honest with you, I took it out of the box tonight for the first time and got it photographed, and I realized right away, so I'm in over my head. I need to figure out how to get it adjusted, and I got to get back into practicing my code, and so I'm missing out. I've been neglecting code for several weeks, except a little bit of practice here and there. But just wanted to share probably one of my most recent ham radio hobby purchases in the summertime. So there it is. It's probably more than you would expect, Bob. I haven't done anything with this.
Well, I'm going to make a comment. You can bring it tomorrow to the W6NA FM meeting and show and tell the thing, and have Mike or any of the mics there look at it and do some adjusting on it.
Well, I missed the N6NA club meeting last night, and I'm ashamed and guilty of that, so I didn't want to mention it. I might try to get over there and have Mike do just that tomorrow. So we'll see if I can make my way out there and do a little show and tell, and get Mike to do a quick tutorial on setting it up. I know he'll do that for me. So yeah, thanks for the suggestion. I was thinking that too. Appreciate the comments. Any other thoughts or comments? I'll take a quick pause, and if not, we'll see if we'll have Joel be up next.
K3REH?
Go ahead.
So this is going to show my total lack of knowledge about these things, but first, the little red dot up on the metal piece there, is that an LED, or what is that? And second, what does this do more than just be an on and off switch?
All right, a couple of good questions. Let me do my best to just give you an answer based on the training that I received in my CW class and some market research I've done. That little red thing on top is supposed to be historically, it might have been a jewel. It might have been like a bearing surface for something that pivots up in there. But I think that they still call it a jewel, but it's actually just a sort of a piece of plastic that's sort of a throwback to old times, and it's really not a jewel. It's just a piece of plastic for display and for probably nostalgia, if I'm not mistaken. Carol may have a better explanation than that, but I think it's meant to show that it was a jewel. The other thing is that the action on this is like a pendulum. So I didn't show the best picture, but if you tap this lever horizontally left and right, it sets up a sort of an oscillating action to where that rod out there, it pivots and it swings very rapidly, and then that's what makes the dits and the DAWs. That's the long story short.
Thank you. I think I have to touch one at some point and figure it out. Thanks.
Yeah, it sort of quivers, and that supposedly is it makes it so that you can operate higher CW speeds. You can get beyond 20 words a minute very easily with this, probably up around 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 words per minute with this one.
Comment?
Go ahead, Joel.
I'm not the expert, particularly since I don't really even know CW anymore, but my understanding is so you move the red handle one way and it actually switch contacts directly for the DAWs, and you let go or you move it to the other direction, and it doesn't actually make a switch contact, but what does make the switch contact is the fact that the long bar sticking to the left is basically a spring with a weight at the end, and when you move it in that direction, it starts springing back and forth, and one of those fourths is making a contact for the dips, and one of the adjustments you make is basically moving the weights back and forth to adjust how quickly it does those dips. So it's an interesting little spring mechanical way of doing the dips quickly, and then you moving it over to the DAWs, and then you move it to the dits, and you go dit or dit, depending upon how long you hold it over there. Back to net AI6DG, and maybe Carol can make a better description.
Thank you for that, Joel. Do you have anything to add, Carol?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, what Joel described is absolutely right. It's another term for a bug is a semi-automatic key. The dashes you have to send manually. You have to send them manually with pushing the paddle over to one side. When you push the paddle over in the other direction, if you hold it down, this thing will set that pendulum bouncing back and forth, and it'll give you a string of dits. So by moving the weight on the end of the pendulum up and down, you can change the speed of those dits. And in other words, it allows you to send faster speed with less fatigue to your wrist, since you don't have the up and down motion with a straight key doing a lot of fast dits that way. It does relax your wrist a bit, and it allows you to send faster with less fatigue. And of course, this is all that they had before the onset of electronic keyers. These were used by the railroad telegraphers back in the beginning of the 20th century, and even before then. So very long history on these, and perfect timing to take it out of the box, because this month, starting actually on the 19th of November, is the W6NA FM Bug Roundup. So you'd be able to participate if you get a little bit of practice and bring it in to the club meeting tomorrow night. The W6NA FM is meeting tomorrow night at the they're going to be at the Carmichael Presbyterian Church on Marconi at 7 p.m. And they also broadcast it on YouTube as well if you can't make the meeting. But that would be an excellent opportunity to get yourself set up for a bug roundup. Back to net, KP4MD.
N6PGQ.
Go ahead, Paul.
You can notice that the very front of the base, actually on this side of the base, left side, is one contact, and you can see a set of points there that can be moved in and out to adjust the contact, and that's for the dits. And the DAWs, as Carol said, is done manually by pushing the round part of the key to the left, and the dits are made by pushing the oblong one to the right, which sets the bar into oscillation. You can see there's a space at the very back side so that the lever can come towards you, and that makes the DAWs, and when you push it away, it gets the thing oscillating and makes the dits. This was developed to prevent telegraphers' wrist, which was a career-ending problem for many of the telegraphers that were using a straight key. They call it carpal tunnel syndrome right now. So this was an attempt to both allow the person to operate at a much faster speed and also to prevent telegraphers' wrist, N6PGQ.
All right, thanks for all the history, and I just really appreciate some of the better narratives and explanations than I can provide. Like I said, I just took it out of the box and probably forgot most everything I learned about it during my class, and pulled the instruction sheet out and was like, oh my gosh, I need to put this back in the box right away because I won't be able to figure this out today. But anyway, I'll get some help, and appreciate the suggestion. Let me turn it over to Joel for a photo. You ready to transmit, Joel?
I'm assuming there was a tone there, so now let's try for PD 120.
All right, Joel, I see what looks like some Elecraft gear. If I'm not mistaken, I recognize the form factor and sort of the packaging, maybe an automatic antenna tuning unit to the lower left, and to the right is the bottom cover, maybe with a speaker on it, battery connector or something like that, or and the top is the chassis for, I'm guessing it's a KX2, because I have one very much like it. So I'll turn it over to, let's see, Carol, KP4MD, because she mentioned earlier that she's always last. So now I'm going to bring her up to the top. KP4MD, Carol, were you able to copy?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. No, you don't have to pick on me all the time to go first. But anyway, yeah, it looks like the KX2. And looks like you have the automatic tuner removed and the back cover, and it's exposing the battery there. And so I've got a phone call back to Nets, KP4MD.
All right, Carol will be first again. K3REH. Anders, go right ahead. Were you able to copy?
Certainly, good copy. I was sitting here trying to figure out what that battery was. It says lithium-ion 16650, I think, 11.1 volts. Yeah, it looks like the tuner part of that radio. So I haven't been in there digging in a radio like that myself, but it certainly looks like a nice piece of electronics. K3REH, back to Net.
Thank you for that, Anders. Yep, N6PGQ. What would you say? Would you able to copy?
Yep, looks like a KX2 to me. I just wish my KX3 had that battery in it instead of the ones they put in. Looks like it's been taken apart. I don't know whether he's installing the ATU or replacing the battery or what, but we're just showing off. Anyway, the quality came through really, really well. It's not sitting on something. You can tell he's holding it with his left hand, it looks like, and probably trying to take a picture with his right hand. So all in all, it came out real well. You can tell it's a 10-energy battery, and the parts are disconnected from each other. N6PGQ.
All right, nice one, Bob. Thank you very much. Joel, you're up. AI6DG. Tell us all about this radio, or whatever it is. Is this a pocket radio? Is this a transistor AM/FM radio, or is it something else?
Well, it's been pretty well established it's a KX2, and that is indeed the case. And one of my splurge purchases at Pacificon was to get the antenna tuner board. When I bought my KX2, I was a cheapskate and didn't buy it because it was an extra $170. Well, now it's an extra $200, and I decided, well, I better get one now before it keeps going up in price. And I've got such a nice KX2 with all the bells and whistles. It's kind of telling that it's missing the antenna tuning unit. So this is the back cover removed. So the lower right, the back cover, the little cable there is for the speaker, and in fact the matching plug for the speaker is that wire sticking out the bottom on the lower right below the battery. That's the battery, and the battery plugs into the KX2 is actually a little barrel connector, kind of similar to, well, everything. I mean, our wall work probably got a very similar connector. And it's that plug that's just above the battery on the upper left corner of it. That's the antenna tuner on the lower left, and it's basically going to go straight plug into the left side of the KX2. So it's positioned appropriately in relation to the unit above it. You can see the two power PA transistors on the that are bolted to the left side of the case, the PNC connector on the upper left. The little plug with the black and red wire is actually where the PNC plugs into the board underneath it. It's kind of surprising that it's just a pair of wires and a plug like that, but I guess at HF you can get away with that. And the left side of the board you're looking at, I'm assuming some of the final pass circuitry. Was it bandpass? Not bandpass. Is it bandpass? Yeah, I guess it's bandpass filters with the relay switching for the different bands. But I'm getting ready to install the ATU, going through the instructions and so forth. And looking forward to actually being able to use non-resonant antennas and just random length wires more or less with this. Back to Net AS6TG.
I have one comment for you, Joel. A couple of things, really. Well, congratulations on taking the leap and making that addition to the radio. I'll tell you, the ATU is lightning fast. It is really, really fast, and it is very precise. It seems like I don't know. When you press the button, and it tunes very quickly, and it's very quiet too. So it's not what I'm used to. I've got a LDG antenna tuner at my desk. It's really noisy. I hate to even tune at night because it's too noisy, and it's very slow. So anyway, nice addition to your ham shack there. Congratulations. Any other comments?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I just wanted to say that yeah, the prices of everything has come up. I've had my KX3 now since I don't know, it's about 8 years, and the base price of the KX3 back then was $999, and it's gone up at least 20%, I believe, since then. It's and of course everything is going up now with the rate of inflation going on right now. So I think it's a smart idea to get these things before prices go up. Also, a side note, since we talked about the solar flare earlier, we're in the middle of a geomagnetic storm. We have a major storm going on right now. So the planetary A index is 21, the K index is 6. So HF propagation is probably not very good, and we may actually have some kind of aurora going on. So that's just another just a tangent. Back to Net's KP4MD.
Thank you for those comments and updates, Carol. Appreciate that. And it looks like we'll probably go into the weekend with some very rough band conditions. Any other comments or questions for Joel? All right, I think I'll be seeking to close the net, but before I do we have any announcements or general comments?
K3REH?
Go ahead.
So I'm still curious about that key and the way the oscillation works. Is that purely mechanical, so that if you move the key and do the dits, does it eventually stop? Or is it powered somehow by an electromagnet so it keeps going?
Yeah, it's all just mechanical, and it's sort of a torsion bar, if you will. Not torsion, rather. That's a wrong way to put it. But it vibrates until it runs out of rotational energy, and then it stops. But usually there's enough energy there to hit, 5 dits, which is, I think, the maximum number of dits you'll see in a row.
Yeah, it's essentially a pendulum on a piece of springy steel, so that it's waving back and forth with that spring action.
Very cool. Thank you. Like I said, I have to get close to one of these one day and really look at it. Looks interesting. Thank you so much. K3REH, back to Net.
Thank you for that question. And so anyway, I want to say thanks again to the YouTube viewers out there that have been taking a look at the cast tonight. We had a really good show, and I want to thanks to all who participated in tonight's SSTV Net. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m. The net is officially closed at 10 o'clock, or 10 minutes after 10 Pacific time. This is Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, wishing you all a good evening.